Welcome back to a rather soggy Donington Park, everybody, for our second and final Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup race of the weekend. It's now rather wet, to say the least. This is round 12 of the championship that's coming up for you. We saw a win earlier on today for Max Watt. It looked as though the win was going the way of Bertie Bream because he got about a 4.5 second lead heading onto the final lap, but he transgressed the circuit limits one too many times and picked up on the very last lap a 5-second penalty, which meant that he lost out on the win on corrected times by 0.481 of a second. Otherwise, that would have been his first win since April. As it was, Max Watt took the win. That now makes it 6 wins back-to-back. Let's guide you through the grid then. This is based on their second fastest times from qualifying this morning. And the way that they line up, we can wait and see as the cars will be heading out onto the circuit for what I'm hoping will just be a single formation lap this time through, because they have already raced in damp conditions, so I think it will just be single formation lap. But information is just reaching me, it is going to be 2 formation laps that the cars will be getting to understand as to how the circuit has evolved since their last visit. Let's then just confirm the way that the grid lines up. It is Max Watt on pole position, and Bertie Bream, his main championship rival, is alongside. It's Ben Grucock and Brendan Hafner that are there on row number 2. The inside of the third row of the grid sees Stuart Warner line up alongside Matthew Sears. And it's Mike Thompson, who's already been a race winner so far this year, that has got Perry Darling for company on what will be row number 4. The fifth row of the grid is Tony Jones and Martin Mason, who had a very intriguing first race with a few mistakes down at the Melbourne hairpin. Then it's Charlie Dye and Tony Levy that are there on row number 6. Simon Dye is on the inside of the 7th row of the grid. Eric Bridges will be keeping him company. And it is Tom Hale, who had a busy old first race, alongside Graham Hurd, who had damage on his car as he limped towards the checkered flag in the race earlier on. David Hussey and Ava Nolan are on the penultimate row of the grid, and Adam Spencer lines up on his own at the tail end of the field. So hopefully they are all there. The only car that didn't finish the first race was David Hussey, and that was when he had a little bit of contact as he was being lapped by Max Watt. And I gather that both of the drivers were called to the clerk of the course, and whilst Max Watt made the contact with David Hussey said he didn't realise the race leaders were coming down upon him and hadn't spotted the car in his mirrors. So neither driver was deemed to be at fault, and therefore Max Watt will be rather pleased that what was a busy old race for him with a few mistakes along the way, that he actually took a win in it. Good to see the car is back out, so David Hussey, who ended up in the gravel trap, is back out as well. So I think all 19 cars that qualified will be out there. They're now just heading on to their second formation lap. You can see the spray that's just starting to come out of the coattails of these cars. All of the cars running control tyres as well, so they all run the Pirelli P0 Trofeo R tyres, so it is a treaded tyre that you run, and again you are limited to the amount of tyres that you can utilise. This is the Boxster class, or class 3 as it's also known. You are limited to a maximum of 2 sets of tyres. That's 4 front and 4 rear for the whole of the championship season. So you are very much limited, and that's to help bring budgets down. You know, if you want to go Porsche racing, this is one of the cheapest ways that you can go Porsche racing. Pick yourself up one of the Boxster S 3.2s. Doesn't matter whether it's one of sort of the earlier ones, the ones that were built between 1999 and 2002, or whether it's ones that got slightly more power, not by much, the 2003-2004 specification. They're all more than competitive. The 2003-2004 cars have slightly more power, and we're talking literally 6 kilowatts more power, not many, but they do run 20 kilograms heavier as a result of that. So it does even out and equate to the performance of the respective cars based on the regulations, the powers, the curb weights. It's all very cleverly done by Porsche Club Motorsport, who I think we also need to thank Strasser, who are supporting the trophies for the championships this weekend. We've got one car that has dived to the pit lane, and that looks like might be Adam Spencer's car, possibly. Can't quite tell from that particular angle. Looks like it says 91 on it, which would be the case. Yes, Adam Spencer's car that has dived for the pit lane, but everybody else is still there. Adam qualified at the tail end of the field, and he set his fastest lap very early on in the qualification session, but he was about 1.5 seconds shy of, on second fastest times, of gaining a place on the grid. So sensible thing maybe for Adam to dive for the pit lane. If he's not confident, then stay out of harm's way. He's going to be at the back anyway, but May well be that it's actually a problem that's brought his car into the pit lane. Hopefully he will be back out there. See a few cars patched up. Perry Darling's there, which lost a headlamp earlier on. There's a load of grey gaffer tape over the front left-hand corner of his car. You can also see that the light isn't quite right on Graham Hurd's number 99 car. But we'll wait and see what happens in this one. So the yellow and the black car that lines up on pole position is Max Watt. His main championship rival lines up alongside him, which is the silver car with the orange and the black flashes to it. That's got the headlamps on the outside of the front row of the grid. It's green and yellow for Ben Grucock, alongside the dark blue car with the day glow flashes down the centre, which is Brendan Hafner on row number 2. And row 3 of the grid, it's silver and orange for Stuart Warner, who's just out of sight behind the pole sitter. You can't quite see him. And he has got the black and the light green car with some small purple flashes to it in the hands of Matthew Shears, who had a couple of spins on the first lap earlier on today. He'll be hoping for better fortunes in this one. It was timetabled to be a 25-minute race, but because we are short of time, and particularly this time of year now, short of daylight for the other races that still need to come after the Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup, the extra formation lap means we lose 2 minutes from the race, so it's now going to be a 23-minute race that will be our final race here today for round 12 of the championship. We've still got rounds 13 and round 14 to come. They'll be at Snetterton in a few weekends' time. And for this championship, you count your best 12 races, so you drop your 2 worst scores in reality. There's one marshal, I think, just checking something on the grid there. Just got down his hands and knees to see whether there's maybe some fluid coming from the tail end of one of the cars. Let's hope not. And then back down on his hands and knees again to look to see whether there's some fluid on the next car along. So just a slight delay to the start for the moment. And I think one of the scrutineers is now wandering over to have a look at, now is that Ava Nolan's car at the tail end of the field? Can't be Adam Spencer's, because we know he is in the pit lane. And scrutineer now looking underneath the car. Obviously on a damp track, telltale oil marks would give you an indication that something is leaking. Scrutineer needs to be satisfied that it is safe to get that car, and it's actually the number 64 car of David Hussey potentially it's now being spoken to. That's the car that did go into the gravel trap at the very end of the race earlier on today. It was, what, lap 11, lap 12 I think of the 14 that were completed, and he, I'm afraid, is going to be pushed back off the grid by the look of things. So this will be a delayed start and potentially another formation lap that will be required after this. So fantastic work by the marshals to spot that in the first place. Then brilliant work for them to call the scrutineer over to satisfy the scrutineer that all is well or not, as the case may be, in this case the latter. And then very quickly trying to shove the car out of harm's way, push it backwards on the grid, then push it forwards down to pit lane, keep it out of harm's way. But that does mean that the start has just been delayed for the moment, so the driver's having to just wait patiently until everything is done and dusted. Looks like, is that the 5-second board that's going out? So don't think we're going to have another formation lap. I think we're going to be straight off with this one, because the lights could well be coming on the gantry as they do now, and we're about to get the race underway. But that was a jump start from Max Watt, who went when the lights went out. So Max Watt then stops in the middle of the circuit to get going again. That bottles everybody up, and well, that now means that it's going to be Bertie Bream that will lead the charge. But that was Max Watt, either just got caught off guard, didn't concentrate. But if you've jump the start, just keep going, just keep going. You're going to get a 10-second penalty anyway. And now what's happened is, because he's sort of stopped mid-pack, that concertinaed everybody up. He's lost places, and he's still going to get a 10-second penalty for being out of position at the start. He has dropped down to something like 7th or 8th position. It's Bertie Bream that leads the way, from Brendan Hafner in 2nd place. Ben Grucock is there in 3rd place. Stuart Warner is 4th. Perry Darling is 5th. And I think Max Watt has made it up to 6th in the early stages of this one, as they slither their way through the old hairpin in what are still tricky old conditions out there. It's not sopping wet, it is just wet, and it's still going to be greasy out there. And of course, it's your first lap at full race pace, so you're still trying to work out how the circuit has changed since you were out on track racing 2, 3, 4 hours ago in the case of the competitors for the Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. So up towards Coppice Corner go the front runners. Further down through the order, battles are resumed by the look of things. That's Simon Dye fighting away with Graham Hurd. They had a fantastic squabble in the race earlier on today, where Graham ultimately picked up a time penalty for track limits. And we're going to have another change here. Max Watt dives decisively up the inside of Stuart Warner, takes the place away. So the pole sitter now having gained a further place. But sure, at some point there will be a message that will flash up to say that he's going to get a 10-second penalty for being out of position at the start. I can't imagine that would not be the case, because he went when the red lights came on in reality, rather than when they went out. down through the old hairpin, the Melbourne hairpin. Mike Thompson coming under attack there from, I think that was Mike Mason's car, who had a couple of trips into the gravel trap down at the Melbourne hairpin in the race earlier on today. But for Max Watt, he has got this question mark hanging over his position at the start. He's going to come over the start-finish line in 4th position in full attack mode to see if he can squeeze his way through and ahead of Ben Grucock as they head up towards the braking area for Redgate Corner. There's a spin for Matthew Shears again on the first lap. It was down through the crane of curves and the old hairpin earlier on. It's this time at Goddard's where he has the issue. So he will get going, but that will have dropped him way down through the order. Lost 9 places relative to his starting position. Came through 15th at the wheel of the number 3 car at the end of the lap. So 20 minutes to go. Best of the squabbles at the moment is for 3rd and for 4th position on the road. That's Ben Grucock coming under attack from Max Watt as they pick their way past Starkey's Bridge and start to climb uphill towards Schwantz Curve, which when it's really wet can be a difficult braking area because the water flows from one side of the circuit to the other, but we haven't got sort of that water flow across the track at the moment. Whatever the problem was with David Hussey's car, he has now satisfied the scrutineers that it has been fixed, himself and the team, so he is able to rejoin, albeit, of course, he is already off the lead lap, I'm afraid to say. So just utilise this as a testing session and look forward to the trip down to Norfolk in a few weeks' time for the final 2 races at Snetterton as the race leader comes in towards the braking area for the Roberts chicane. Still this fight on for 3rd and 4th. Ben Grucock still at the moment able to keep Max Watt at bay at the wheel of the number 23 car, the man who leads the championship. He was hoping to be leading this race, but finds himself down in 4th position after that unusual start. Is he going to be able to pick a place up from Ben Grucock at the wheel of the green car with the yellow flashes to it? And occupying 3rd place, Max Watt looking one way, looking the other. You can see just how tricky it is now with the amount of spray that's coming up from the Trofeo Pirelli R tyres. Through and over the start-finish line. Bertie Bream leading the way. Brendan Hafner in 2nd position. Still Ben Grucock sitting there in 3rd place. Max Watt in 4th. Stuart Warner still there in 5th place. And it's still number 81, Perry Darling, that completes the top 6 as things currently stand. Out of Redgate Corner, this could be the move from Max Watt this time. If he can get the undercut onto the top of Hollywood, he might be through, and he is. He's got the undercut on Ben Grucock. So up into 3rd position on the road he will come, and just as he takes that 3rd position, the notification reaches us that he is going to pick up a time penalty, I'm afraid, and the time penalty, as I said, 10 seconds it will be for being out of position at the start. So the task is on now for Max Watt. He has to take the lead of the race. He then has to build a 10-second lead if he wants to overcome that corrected time. At the moment, add 10 seconds to where he is, and that is going to drop him down to something like 8th place in this race on corrected times. But he's still got 18 seconds to keep pushing, 18 minutes rather, to keep pushing and try and build an advantage over the cars behind to overcome the time penalty that will be heading in his direction. We saw his pace in the race earlier on today, and that was even with a few little small mistakes and gravelly moments along the way. He is already not only just pulled away from Ben Grucock, he is starting to close in onto the coattails of the dark blue car with its day-glow yellow flashes down the centre, number 13, Brendan Hafner. So they'll come up towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. Brendan Hafner still hanging on to 2nd position at the moment. Best result we've had from Brendan so far this year was 4th place prior to this weekend. Well, he finished 5th earlier on today. Well, he's up in the podium spots for the first time, but he's coming under big pressure now as Max Watt looks one way and then straight away he's able to sneak his way through up the inside, heading around through Goddard's corner. Brendan tries to fight back, 2 wheels on the curb on the exit of Goddard's. Matches the pace of Max Watt down the start-finish line, but Brendan's got his nose ahead and has the all-important inside line as they head up towards Redgate Corner. So what is Max Watt going to do? He's going to try around the outside. Needs to be careful that he doesn't get pushed wide onto the curves by Brendan Hafner, but Brendan, fair play, gives him room, and then the extra momentum of Max Watt tells. The non-polished surface, the outside line, gives him a bit more grip. He's up into 2nd place now and can now set his sights on Bertie Bream, his main championship rival, who he had a good squabble with in the race earlier on today for what was round 11 of the championship. So they thread their way out of the old hairpin, start to climb uphill. Good momentum again, actually, from Max Watt as they went uphill. Elsewhere down through the order, Ava Nolan's having a fight away with Simon Dye. That will be for 14th and 15th position. There's one car that came into the pits at the end of that lap, and that was car number 91, Adam Spencer, who did go out, started from the pit lane, but he's subsequently come in as well. And there's another fight going on, which is Matthew Shears trying to recover from his spin at Goddard on the opening lap. He is now caught up with Graham Hurd and is trying to get himself inside the top 12, if at all he can. So those two cars just working their way through Schwantz Curve. So Eric Bridges is ahead of them, then it's Graham Hurd, and then it's Matthew Shears as they head onto the brakes and turn their way through the right-hander. As for Max Watt, his progress to try and take the lead did set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, 1 minute 55.790. He hasn't quite managed to take the lead as yet. You can see that wide sweep being taken by Bertie Bream to try and seek out the grip. Two wheels on the curb on the exit of the corner. He's still going to have the lead of the race as they head up towards Goddard's, but Max Watt is right the way alongside him. They almost lean on each other in towards the corner. Bertie Bream tries to park the car on the apex, but Max Watt dives decisively up the inside. Bertie Bream gives him racing room. Through they'll go. In third place, two wheels on the grass for Brendan Hafner, who looked as though he was going to have a moment, but beautifully controlled it. So Max Watt has taken the lead of the race, but remember, he has a 10-second penalty. So he needs to open up a 10-second gap between himself and the car in second place to overcome that time penalty at the end of the race. So he will know the task in hand. That will have been displayed to him on the start-finish line. There's a LED electronic board as well that will have had notification of a 10-second penalty for him. So Max will look to try and push. He has claimed now 6 wins on the trot, and can he make it 7 here and further strengthen his championship aspirations for this year? Elsewhere down through the order, 11th, 12th and 13th altogether. Eric Bridges, number 38, coming under pressure from the recharging Matthew Shears after his spin. And just behind them is Graham Hurd. So that is all for position as they start to head down through the Craner curves on what will be lap number 5 already, with just 14 minutes remaining. Matthew Shears up the inside of Eric Bridges, takes a further place away. So that is another place gain for Matthew. Started 6th on the grid. As I say, dropped all the way down towards the tail end with that problem from him, and now I think Eric Bridges might lose a further place to Graham Hussey. Oh, Matthew Shears, just as he takes the place away, he has another spin on the exit of the old hairpin. So he's done all of that hard work to catch and then get past, and I'm afraid it's all become unravelled within his very eyesight. So he's got it all to do again, Matthew Shears, and of course what he's got to try and do is get the car off the wet grass to start with. So that will now mean that it is going to be Graham Hurd that is now up into 11th position. So keep an eye towards Graham and see what he might be able to do, because in the race earlier on today he had an intriguing race. It was a hard-fought race with Graham. And where did he finish up in the end? He came over the start-finish line with damage. 15th he took the start-finish line, but I gather he may well ultimately have been disqualified for that contact, which was at the final corner between himself and Simon Dye, I think it was. Was it Simon Dye? Yeah, I think it might have been. So Max Watt leading by 1.2 seconds now, so that is not good enough to overcome the 10-second penalty. At the moment, on corrected times, he would still drop to 6th position, and he makes a big mistake coming down through the Craner curves, pushing too hard, loses the tail end of the number 23 car, and that is not at all what he wanted. He was trying to open up a gap, and now he has dropped down to 6th on the road, make that 7th if Mike Thompson goes through. Charlie Dye is about to try and catch him as well, so he's got to try and clean up those Pirellis. So could well be down to certainly 7th, if not 8th on the road, and still has the 10-second penalty, don't forget as well. So on corrected times, that's going to drop him further down through the order. And remember, this is the man that leads the championship coming into this weekend, and will have extended his championship lead as a result of the win over Bertie Bream earlier on. So not at all what he was after. And so if he's down into, what's he going to be? It's going to be certainly 7th position. That is going to net him, even at the moment, 13 championship points, which means that he's going to give away 12 to Bertie Bream, potentially as a bare minimum in this race. Still got fights further through the order as well, and that is Simon Dye, who has got Ava Nolan not too far away. That's going to be for 13th and 14th position. Simon gaining 2 places on that previous lap as a result of the spin for Matthew Shears and overtakes for others. He's looking to see if he can just open up the gap between himself and Ava Nolan. at the wheel of the number 18 car, who lies that little bit further back. Ava kept her nose clean in the race earlier on, was the last of the cars to take the checkered flag in 18th position, but in tricky conditions did not put a wheel wrong that I could have seen. So through the right-hander at Coppice Corner, they will thread their way as over the start-finish line come some of the front runners, with Perry Darling now up to 5th place and in full attack mode at the wheel of the number 81 car. See the left front headlamp missing following the incident earlier on today that he had. He is looking to try and squeeze his way through and past the car of Stuart Warner that lies ahead. The two teammates down through the Craner curves and in towards the braking area for the old hairpin. So through the old hairpin, and then just be so careful how you pick up the throttle. Make sure you don't run wide and certainly don't touch any of the curbs whilst you're on the throttle at all, otherwise you'll very quickly have a problem. And those two rolling their sleeves up and slugging it out as they head up towards Coppice Corner, but it is still just the car of Stuart Warner that hangs on to 4th place. Perry Darling still sitting there in 5th. Not that far up the road from them actually is the green and the yellow car in the hands of Ben Grucock. Ben was about 0.3 of a second quicker than the car of Stuart Warner last time through, but Perry Darling was 0.2 of a second quicker than either of them, as a bare minimum ahead. So Perry Darling seems to have some good pace at this stage of the race, albeit he's sort of bottled up behind his teammate at the moment. So out of the Fogarty S's, on towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. Very easy to outbrake yourself into the downhill area for the Melbourne hairpin. And then it's not easy either at Goddard as well, because whilst you might start braking uphill, it then turns to downhill and then turns to off camber, the final corner here at Donington Park. So they're coming uphill towards Goddard, so they hit the flat part. You then brake as you start to go downhill, and then the circuit falls away even more as you start to turn in towards the corner. So it's really easy just to run out wide or get the car a little bit sideways on exit. Over the start-finish line, Bertie Breen leading the way. He'll have David Hussey's back marker car to deal with before too much longer. What of Max Watt? Well, he is now ahead of Mike Thompson. He got through on the previous lap. So Max Watt now up into 6th position, but still carrying that 10-second penalty. He actually set the fastest lap of the race, did Max Watt, last time through in the number 23 car. 1 minute 55.107. Good lap time from him. The only driver to have got into the 1 minute 55s so far in this race. But again, he's still got a 10-second penalty hanging over him, and if he adds 10 seconds to his pace, that at the moment would still drop him down into 8th position overall. Yet he's running 6th on the road. We've had a spin. Oh no, okay, Max Watt, another spin. He's just pushing too hard. He's got caught out again, I'm afraid. So Max Watt is going to really not enjoy this race, having made that mistake at the start when the lights came on. He went rather than going out. He's then had a spin pushing hard to try and overcome the 10-second penalty, and a further spin, I'm afraid, for Max Watt as the sun starts to peek through finally at Donington Park. That will have dropped him again further down through the order, and again you've still got the 10-second penalty that you need to try and overcome. So it's Bertie Breen that leads from Brendan Hafner, then it's the car of Ben Grucock. We've still got Stuart Warner trying to keep Perry Darling at bay as they work their way through and past the traffic, which with David Hussey they both deal with on the approach in towards the Fogarty S's that time through. I imagine we're going to have car number 6 back up to 6th place, which will be Mike Thompson as a result of that spin for Max Watt. So we'll see where Max Watt was able to rejoin, but I'm guessing he's going to lose at least another couple of places by the time he got the car pointing in the right direction. And of course, you know, he's now only got 7 minutes to try and recover from it, so it really is damage limitation for Max Watts in this race. Brendan Hafner in 2nd place, trying to hunt down the race leader Bertie Breen, but there's a 2.5 second gap between the pair of them. Bertie that time through in the lead was 0.6 of a second quicker than Brendan Hafner. Car that might be getting caught though, and in fact yes he is Ben Grucock in 3rd place. Ben did a 1 minute 58.6 in the green and yellow number 86 car. It was a 1:57.4 from the car behind, which is Stuart Warner. So the 4th place car closing in on 3rd place, and bringing with him, I would say, his teammate as well, which is Perry Darling. So the sun glinting off those cars as they start to work their way out of the old hairpin and begin to climb uphill once more. We've still got to fight further down through the order. And that is going to be Tom Hale, is it not, who has now been passed by the resurgent Graham Hurd this lap through. So Graham's now up inside the top 10. And Tom Hale has dropped down into 11th position as the race leader is, for the 9th time of asking, just coming in towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's. Brendan Hafner still within touching distance of him, but it's really going to be reliant now on some sort of mistake from Bertie Breen, and we didn't really see one in race number 1 other than on the final lap when he picked up that time penalty for running wide and just missed out on the win. So he took the checkered flag first, but was given a 5-second penalty on the very last lap of the race. So he's just working his way with 5.5 minutes to go for the 9th time out of the Melbourne hairpin. The dark blue car with the yellow flashes down the centre of it's Brendan Hafner, number 13, in 2nd position. Ben Grucock still there in 3rd, and a good fight going on for 6th and 7th at this stage. That is Mike Thompson fighting away with Charlie Dye. So they're just heading up towards the braking area for Goddard's. Mike Thompson finished 4th in the race earlier on today. Charlie Dye finished 6th in it. Did pick up a 15-second penalty, Charlie, for cumulative track limits. So he'll be wanting to stay within the confines of the circuit this time through. And he's having a good run here, nipping at the heels of Mike Thompson. The two of them pretty much inseparable. There's just 0.4 of a second separated them as they came over the start-finish line that time through. And as they then head out of Redgate Corner, you can see just running a little bit wide there was Charlie Dye. Down through the Craner curves, you can see the much drier line through the top of the Craner curves. To be careful that you brake the car in a straight line. Still raining down there as well, despite the fact you can see the drier line. It just goes to show how well the Pirelli P0 Trofeo R tyres are working to remove the moisture from the track. And then as they start to climb uphill towards Schwantz Curve and McLean's once more, there's only 4 minutes remaining on the clock. As for Max Watt, the pole sitter, he's dropped to 8th place now. Did just set the fastest lap of the race, so we'll pick up an extra championship point for that, but that is a bit of a consolation prize really compared to what he was expecting. 1 minute 54.640 is the fastest lap of the race, and even with 10 seconds added to his race time, he is now 13, nearly 14 seconds ahead of the car behind him, which is the number 68 car of Martin Mason. So he will overcome the time penalty now, Max Watt. So as long as he doesn't make another mistake, he'll be fine. However, we have had another mistake for Matthew Shears, who has spun into the gravel trap briefly at Redgate Corner. And that is the car that was in 13th place. I think he'll recover and finish in 13th still, because he got quite a sizable gap between himself and the next car behind, which would be Ava Nolan. So time lost. I don't think positions lost for him. This fight for the final place inside the top 6 comes over the start-finish line. And as they head up towards Goddard's, I think we've had a shuffle at the sharp end, because it's now showing that Ben Grucock and Stuart Warner are ahead of Brendan Hafner. And yeah, Brendan Hafner must have had a problem somewhere on that lap, and I think it was in the first sector where Brendan had the problem. Yeah, I can see, yeah, it's dark blue car with the yellow flashes. He's lost places there. Perry Darling has also gone through. So that's going to be at least 3 places lost there. So this now fight that we're looking at between the two teammates is going to be for 3rd and 4th position, which is going to be Stuart Warner under attack from Perry Darling. And the recovering car in the background of the shot is going to be that of Brendan Hafner, who looked good for 2nd place, but all of a sudden finds himself off the podium spots, I'm afraid, and only with 2 minutes to try and recover from it at the wheel of the number 13 car. So it has been somewhat unlucky, that number, for him in this race. Bertie Bream is 5.5 seconds to the good at this stage. Real daylight between himself and the green machine. Ben Grucock sitting there in 2nd position. Stuart Warner and Perry Darling have been at it for the last few laps. Again, Perry Darling weaving around behind the number 51 car to try and put him off. There's been no such chink in the armour as yet for Stuart Warner, who is on for a potential podium here, and he would be very happy with that if he can manage it. So in towards the braking area at the Melbourne hairpin. Stuart Warner so far this year did take a podium last time out at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. That was his only podium so far this year, and if at the next race meeting he can pick up another podium, he'll be truly delighted with that. But got his work cut out because he's still got Perry Darling sitting right behind him. So over the start-finish line, Bertie Bream leads the way. Ben Grucock in second, Stuart Warner under attack from the number 81 car of Perry Darling. And with now less than 60 seconds to go, they are on to their last lap of the race. Brendan Hafner down into 5th. Mike Thompson actually no longer in 6th. He has been overtaken by Charlie Dye, who's made good progress from 11th on the grid. So the number 96 car now up into 6th position. Mike Thompson, a race winner this year, down into 7th at this stage with the pole sitter. Max Watt still down there in 8th place with the fastest lap, but that 10-second penalty still hanging over him. But as you say, he's more than 10 seconds up the road from the car, which is in 9th place. So corrected times, it's not going to alter his position because he's got 20.5 seconds between himself and the car behind, which is Martin Mason. But with now less than 30 seconds on the clock, for the 12th time, up towards Coppice Corner go the front runners. Bertie Bream well and truly up the road, has nothing really to worry about. Ben Grucock equally as much, hasn't got too much to worry about. He might have been caught by 1/10 of a second from the car behind last time through, but just keep driving at the pace you're driving, Ben, and he will be on for a podium. We saw him on the podium earlier on today where Ben Grucock finished in what was 3rd position, and that was his first podium of the season so far. And a bit like buses, you wait for one and it looks as though two are going to come along at once for him. Bertie Bream missed out on the win earlier on today as he picked up a 5-second penalty on the very final lap. Well, he is over 5 seconds ahead of Ben Grucock in this one, so should the unforeseen happen again, he should be all right, but he's got to work his way past a little bit of traffic, which is Ava Nolan final corner. Ava staying neatly out of harm's way, and he's going to come through the win in round 12 of the Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. Goes the way of Bertie Bream, who keeps his championship hopes alive as we head to Snetterton for the final weekend of racing. It's going to be Ben Grucock with his best result of the season and back-to-back podiums for him that finishes in 2nd place. It's going to be Stuart Warner that comes through to finish in 3rd position. That is going to be back-to-back podiums for him in consecutive weekends of racing at least. Perry Darling just misses out on the podium, finishing in 4th place. Brendan Hafner 5th. And Charlie Dye in 6th place does get himself ahead of the black car with the red flash down the centre in the hands of Mike Thompson in the end. Max Watt did recover. He will finish in 8th place on the road. He will pick up the extra point for the fastest lap, and he is more than 10 seconds ahead of not the next car over the start-finish line, because that's the lapped car of David Hussey, but he's more than 10 seconds up the finish line from the red car with the Coca-Cola livery, which will come through now in the hands of Martin Mason. So yeah, even on corrected times, it's going to be 8th place for Max Watt, 9th place for Martin Mason. Graham Hurd will complete the top 10, and it should be Tom Hale, the next one through, in 11th position. Yes, it is, as he works his way out of Goddard's. The purple car of Eric Bridges should be next through over the start-finish line. He'll be appearing into sight before too much longer, unless he's been caught by Matthew Shears on this final lap, who is still trying to recover from his couple of spins that he has had so far in this race. And then we've still got, even after that, Simon Dye to work his way through up towards the completion of the race and the checkered flag. We can see some of the other cars just getting ready in the pit lane for the next race, which will be the GT Cup Championship, which will be heading out there. But as the rest of the cars head around on their slowing down lap, we can shortly confirm some results for you, because I think all of the cars, bar one, which is Simon Dye, have taken the checkered flag so far, and Simon is in the final sector and is about to do that. So let's confirm the results for you. Bertie Bream claims the win from Ben Grucock in 2nd place, and it's Stuart Warner there in 3rd. Perry Darling was 4th with Brendan Hafner in 5th, and Charlie Dye finishes in 6th place. Mike Thompson was 7th, and with the 10-second penalty and a couple of spins, Max Watt, the championship leader, comes through in 8th in the end, as it was. 9th place is Martin Mason. Graham Hurd completed the top 10. In 11th position, then that's Tom Hale in 11th. Eric Bridges was there in 12th, with Matthew Shears in 13th. And then you see the rest of the finishers from there. Simon Dye, Nolan, Hussey and Spencer, all either retirees or off the lead lap. And that's it for this weekend for the Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. You can join us at Snetterton for the final weekend of racing on the 11th of October. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.